Hello, everyone. This is Lenard Guzman here with Emily Robinson on the Life After D podcast. It's March 31st. It's almost Easter here. We're here. I guess it's like what the first quarter of the year is done. How are things, Emily? I know everything is kind of crazy right now. It's divorce court.
Yeah, first quarter of the year, all the taxes are due. So not excited about that. But it's spring and it's warm out, so I'm happy. Court's busy as usual at this time of year. And ready for the warm weather in summer.
So you mentioned taxes, right? So in a divorce, I guess the rules are, you have so the rule is for IRS is, for the court, like there's certain date, and then you become like single versus like whether it's married filing jointly or separately. How does it affect it like this time of year? Because obviously it's April 15th with the crazy stimulus coming out. What are you hearing here?
Well, so you definitely have to check with your own accountant because I can't give financial advice. But my understanding is that you're basically filing as far as what your status was on the last day of the year. So if you were married on December 31, 2020, and now you're divorced, as of the beginning of 2021, you should still be able to file married filing joint if you want to, or married filing separate. It's important to talk to your tax professional about what's the most advantageous for you financially. But yes, if you're divorced in 2021, then ultimately you're going to have to file separate or single or head of household or whatever for 2021.
Yeah, so it's like with the stimulus checks, people are getting it. I know, I think direct deposit, and then it comes in the debit cards. So it's kind of chaotic right now because if you're divorced and from last year your address or your bank account different, we're finding we found it in the last couple weeks where checks are sent to the previous contact info, right?
So that's actually been a big issue, and there's no court guidance or case law yet on what to do about it. We've had stimulus checks going to one spouse, the entire thing, because the court doesn't know the government doesn't know they're separated. And so what I've just been advising people to do is to share the check. If you get the whole check, send half to your spouse. If you get a check for the child, send half to your spouse, because there's not really a rule yet. Technically it may come out that the person who has more custody should get the child check, but there's not really a rule yet. So right now we're just kind of splitting it. Sometimes we're agreeing that the person with the child gets the child's check, but yeah, it's tough. Like with a lot of things during COVID, we're just kind of winging it and trying to figure out what seems fair. And if the court issues or the legislature issues some guidance, then we can go back and, follow that.
Yeah, there's a lot of things going on. I know some friends of mine with the new child tax credit. They're like, the government's giving us, in a way, I don't know if the UBI thing's the correct terminology, but they're getting more money for each child. And there's a lot of stuff, like you're saying, legislature. I know AOC, I follow her a lot, but she's like proposing even like a caregiver kind of thing where get some sort of a refundable tax credit for having children, because I guess the U.S. The data shows that there's just not enough people. I guess people aren't having kids because the economy's tough, etc. So a lot of things coming up.
I can tell you from having 2 children right now that it's probably no amount of money the government could give us that would cover what these children cost. Like an 8-year-old boy can eat me out of house and home, and does. And their activities, don't even get me started how much their activities cost. And the things that they buy Minecraft for every single device that you have in the house so they can play Minecraft, it adds up. So Any money the government wants to give me for my children, I'll take. But yeah, there's also the issue with the PPP loans too. Like, do those count as income? How do we factor those in when we're figuring out, dividing assets and support? So there's a lot of stuff that all this emergency legislation is making difficult in divorce that we're going to have to figure out. So
yeah, it's interesting. It makes our discussions funner. There's a lot to talk about. So let's get to it. Let's get to the news today. Let's see what's going on. So this part of the show on the Life After D podcast, we're going to go over news. News we see today has to do with divorce. A lot of times we run into, celebrities, people with news, the news trends of divorce. So let's get to it. First story. Oh, the Angelina divorce saga continues. Okay.
That's still going on?
Let's see. Let's break it down. So Brad Pitt and Angelina's divorce fight could last 6 more years, cost millions. It's been going on for over 4 years now. So it's definitely one of the longest celebrity cases we've ever seen, a legal expert says in a new report. I guess that's why Brad Pitt has to just do movies and movies and movies. I know Angelina.
He can't retire.
Yeah, can't retire. She has that Disney one. I don't know if it's done. I saw the first one, but so let's get to it. So news that Brad Pitt and Angelina Jolie will soon face off in an upcoming child custody trial may give people the impression that they will soon resolve their well-publicized differences and move on with their lives. But legal experts offer a more cynical take on the bitter legal fight that Brad Pitt and Angelina have been locked in since 2016 when Jolie filed for divorce. Experts told the Daily Mail that despite disputes over the custody of their 5 underage children and the division of their substantial assets, including a French chateau, could drag on for another 6 years. That's because Brad Pitt, 57, and Jolie, 45, have the money to keep paying for high-priced lawyers, and because Jolie seems determined to keep Pitt from getting a 50-50 custody arrangement he is seeking, the experts say. So let's see. Jolie said she was prepared to offer proof to support her allegations that Pitt was verbally and physically abusive during their decade-long relationship and 2-year marriage, the court document said. So let's see. Los Angeles divorce attorney Kelly Chang, Ricker told the Daily. You know her? Okay.
Yeah, she's awesome.
Told the Daily Mail that Pitt and Jolie have probably spent at least $1 million each in legal fees. It has been going on for over 4 years now, so it's definitely one of the longest celebrity cases we've ever seen.
Okay, here's the thing. Like, life is short, and I get that they have the money to litigate as much as they want. But one of their kids, I think, is already in college, at least one. It's like, the sad thing is you spend all this time fighting, and I know you're doing it because you think it's in the best interest of your kids or whatever, but how much of their childhood do you miss because you spent it all fighting? Like, and I'm not criticizing either side here more. I don't know who's really driving all the litigation, but what's more important? Like, so you have 30% of the time with your kids, but you have 10 wonderful years spending that time with them and enjoying it, or you get your 50%, but it's all miserable because you're fighting in court and in litigation and slandering each other. And I mean, it's just, the big picture has to be looked at, even for celebrities that can afford all of this. It's not just about money. It's about your mental health and the quality of life that you're giving your kids. I once had a super sad case where the child was really ill, and the parents were just in this awful litigation for years and years and years, and the child died before they even finished the litigation. So they basically spent the last 5 years of her life fighting over her. And then they just lost her. So they wasted the last 5 years of her life. They could have had a wonderful time with her, but instead fought the whole time. And it was so sad. And it really taught me, like, life is short and precious. Obviously fight for fight for your kids and the most time you can have with them, but also, like, look at the big picture and make sure you're enjoying that time you do have.
So on average, like something like this uh, Angelina divorce like case, what's the schedule like? Is there like a court thing like every week, every month? Um,
There's so many different schedules people can follow. There's no standard schedule. Some people do 1 week one parent, 1 week the other. Some people do 2 days one parent, 2 days the other. It's really up to the parents and their jobs and their schedules. If one person travels a lot, then you're obviously going to have a different type of schedule. So it's all over the place.
okay, we'll see. We'll come back and maybe if it's lasted this long, we'll probably end up coming back to it. Okay, next story. So Malik Beasley, he's a basketball player, NBA for Timberwolves. He questions 2-year-old son's paternity in Montana Yao divorce amid his romance with Kim Kardashian's ex BFF Larsa Pippen. She's Scottie Pippen's ex-wife, so she kept the name. Okay. So Malik Beasley questioned his son's paternity amid a contentious divorce with estranged wife Montana Yao, where she was recently awarded $6,500 in temporary child support for their son. Professional basketball player motioned to prove the paternity of the pair's 2-year-old son in a Minnesota courtroom on Monday, and was reportedly already taking a test to learn if he is the biological father, according to Us Weekly. Montana, 22, filed for divorce in September, just days after he was spotted holding hands with Kim Kardashian's former best friend Larsa Pippen in Miami while they were still married. So Montana's bid for $5,000 a month, monthly temporarily spousal support, and $8,000 monthly in temporary child support was denied by a Minnesota court Monday. The court awarded Yao $6,500 per month for temporary child support for the former couple's son after she initially made the request in December 2020. How does this work if, like, they go back and like the paternity test comes out and says you're not the father? How does this all play out?
Well, so I can only, like, say for California. Yeah, it's sort of complicated. So there's statutes on how long you have to contest that you're the father. So if you think you're the father for multiple years and hold yourself out to be the father, and then one day decide, oh, maybe I'm not the father, you can't just do that. You can't abandon a child like that. If you question it at the beginning, then yes, there'll be a paternity test. And if you're not the father, you're not the father. If you are the father, then you're going to be obligated to pay your child support and whatever paternal duties are required. A lot of people don't ever question they're the father and they just agree, or a lot of people maybe question that they're the biological father but still hold themselves out to be the presumed father and don't want to know. So you can also just say by agreement, yeah, this person's the father, and then you don't have to do a paternity test if both parties are agreeing somebody's the father. The court doesn't want kids to not have a father or a known father. So if someone is willing to say I'm the father and the woman is also willing to say, yeah, he's the father, the court will just accept that. But again, that's just in California, maybe different in other places.
Okay, so we got here an app that, according to TechCrunch, it says Ensemble or Ensemble. So it says here raises $3 million to help divorced parents avoid arguing about money. So this app helps it. So let's see, at the age of 14, Jacqueline Rome saw firsthand how divorce can impact families and how arguing about finances both during and after the process can impact children. The experience stuck with her as an adult after leading new product launches at Uber and Blue Apron. Rome came up with the concept behind her startup Ensemble, the expense tracking app, quietly launched in the App Store in 2020 with the mission of reducing tension among co-parents and making sure kids' needs aren't neglected by divorce. So let's see. So most co-parents either figure out finances on their own ad hoc or rely on child support payments. However, child support only covers food, shelter, and clothing, which is only half of the cost of raising a child. Rome points out the other half of expenses, including medical bills, extracurricular activities, transportation, etc., often end up being discussed by co-parents via text messages and spreadsheets. So even in the most amicable divorces, money is the number one thing that divorced parents end up talking about, arguing about, and in more contentious divorce that often gets used as a power lever among two emotionally charged individuals with no other tools at their disposal. We set out to build a product that eases tense communications about shared finances and serves the nuanced needs of separated parents. So yeah, I mean, I can imagine like an Uber rides, like I have friends who are divorced and have kids, and like Uber rides, like people go like which car does it go on, the moms or the dads? It's so
Yeah. So I've actually heard of a lot of different kinds of apps like this, and there are a lot of apps out there that are designed to help people communicate or to co-parent better. I think they're a great idea, especially in this digital world. And sometimes for people that can't get along, the best communication is nonverbal, because verbal causes problems. So these apps can be a very helpful way to communicate. Also, a lot of courts will consider information on these apps admissible in court. There's certain apps that the court really likes that the court will consider to be admissible more so than text messages that can be doctored or modified. So they can be really useful for that too.
Okay, so let's move into the part of the show where we go check out the posts we get online. And this part of the show is called Dear Emily, where people ask for advice about getting started in divorce. Like we were talking about child support, the alimony. So let's get to it. Our first post, it's a getting started one. Just told my wife I want a divorce. Help me follow through on this. After 2 years of putting up with her dismissiveness, minimization, gaslighting, and verbal abuse, I finally had enough. This evening, when she started to argue, I shut it down by telling her I was done and I wanted a divorce. She stomped out to walk the dogs, and I'm in here packing up everything, especially everything valuable to me. I need some encouragement to see this through and escape her for good. I tried to leave last summer, but she talked me into only going away for a week instead, and I've regretted it ever since. Please help me find the emotional strength to leave for the last time and get my life back. So yeah, how, like, this is tough. So you just got to go, right?
Yeah, I mean, it kind of sounds like those people are in like the thick of it, like it just happened. And I think a lot of times when you're in that situation, it's good to take a breath and a step back and really just make sure that this is what you want and you're doing the right thing. Like, you know when you're ready for it to be done. And a lot of times people have a knee-jerk emotional reaction and think they're ready, but they're not. Like, you'll know when you're ready. So if you're really feeling like you need to do this, but you're not quite ready, or you need the emotional strength, like, take that time you need to know that you're ready. Because it will be a lot easier emotionally to get through it if you have taken that time to feel like this isn't a rash or knee-jerk decision, or you're just mad. Step back, maybe take a few days apart and really think about it. So it's a big life decision.
Okay, running behind you. So let's go to the next one.
Sorry. I'm talking a lot today.
No, it's okay. It's okay. We're going through a lot of things quickly. Yeah. So this one's a mental health one. When does it get easier Today is day 15th since she walked out, and each day has somehow been worse than the last. Every minute creeps by, and I spend most of the time just wishing the day could be over. None of my hobbies hold much interest, and I'm struggling to even do something like shower regularly. I'm doing at least most of what I think I should be doing: therapy, trying to find new things to do, hanging out with friends. Since I've probably been more social than I've been at college, but none of it seems to be helping. I keep getting told I need to focus on me, and that'll get better with time, but I can't do any basic activities, much less focus on myself. I'm dealing with crippling depression and beginning to hate myself a little because my wife is willingly causing me a lot of extra pain. But all I want is her back.
That's tough. I mean, that does sound like depression, and that sounds like something that may need, clinical help. And don't hesitate to get help if you're feeling like you do need help from a doctor or a therapist. It's hard, but if one person wants the divorce and is going to go through with it, then you have to learn how to accept it. And acceptance is a stage of the grief that you're going through. And a therapist or a coach or a priest or a rabbi, whoever you feel comfortable talking to, can really help you get through it. And sometimes there really is, clinical depression associated with these life changes, and you may need medication for a while, and that's okay too. But make sure you deal with it and take care of yourself, because it's going to take a lot longer to get better if you don't do something.
Yeah, get hobbies, or like go to Magic Mountain by yourself.
If it's open.
Okay, last post of the day. This one's a happy one. Says it's legally over. I feel relieved. After a year, the anxiety and stress of this nightmare divorce is done. My divorce decree is hanging on my fridge, and my favorite line says, "The marriage contract is set aside and dissolved is fully and effectually as if no such contract had ever been made or entered into." So that's final. When you get that, it's done, right?
Once you get the final agreement back from the court or the final judgment signed by the judge, it's done. And I think a lot of people feel a giant sense of relief. I'm not sure they typically would hang it on their fridge and celebrate, but some people would.
Yeah, it's a process.
It's done.
It's a long journey. So that's all the time we have for today. Emily, any last things? Any?
Just, enjoy spring break. Stay safe. I know a lot of people are vaccinated now, but still be careful because COVID is still out there. And that's it.
That's it. So next week we'll have more fun things to say, and Emily have more advice. So join us on the next episode on the Life After D podcast. Bye.